basically with Jesse, we realised there was something wrong when he wasn't hitting those milestones to start talking. And then he suddenly lost all eye contact, went very insular.
We were almost astounded when we had the diagnosis from the NHS, but a complete lack of support. Even if you try and look privately, there's just nobody around who has time or the resource to help you out, even if you're willing to pay for services. Your guys coming in just like rode the wave. We've seen like monumental improvements.
That knowledge that these specialists have that can pass on to you to put into practice is just amazing. I'm astounded at how much he's come on from the programme. His words are just coming thick and fast, and his language, and he's just the way he is interacting.
He asks you questions now, he engages, he speaks to other people when they come in.
He wants to play with other children more so as well.
He brings other people in on his conversation, which just didn't happen before.
And I feel like we've connected more with him as well.
It almost feels like, I don't know if you feel like, it's almost like too good to be true. Don't feel anything.
So I'm with Cheryl and Chris. You've just come to the end of your initial First Steps programme. Tell me, why were you looking for support in the first place?
We have found that since finding out that Jesse has autism, we've just really struggled to get any sort of support really through the NHS. Basically, I feel like you can get a diagnosis, but then you don't get any support. And we can read so many books, and you can go on the internet and you can try and practice and do your own research, but we just feel like having someone to hold your hand and guide you, and then take away all the knowledge that you can get from the therapists that understand this so much better. You can then put that into practice, and you can just see how it really does help. And I feel like we were just at a point where we've done speech and language therapy, and our therapist actually had to move away, unfortunately. And then when we just felt we were out on our own again, and we were just really thankful to come across your charity. And it's just having another people to help you. And I feel like that's where there's not much out there, is there?
No, I think for us, we were almost astounded when we had the diagnosis from the NHS, but a complete lack of support. It was almost like, yeah, you guys have got some issues here, but we haven't got any resource to help you. We finally actually got a letter through from them very recently suggesting that Jesse's diagnosis had been done, and there was a 70-something week wait for him to even see somebody initially, which, by then, in that time, we've made so many inroads already and seen such progress. And, testament to you guys and the support that you give, really. I think not even with the NHS, there's a lack of support entirely. Even if you try and look privately, there's just nobody around who has time or the resource to help you out, even if you're willing to pay for services. So I think for us, it was just having a helping hand and some support from very experienced professionals. But yeah, the big surprise with us was the fact that the waiting lists are so long that actually the children don't progress in the time that is required for them to progress in. By the time you get some support, it's too late. So,
and it's these critical early years, isn't it, as well, that's happening?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, I really do feel that early intervention has just made such difference to our son. And it's just that knowledge that these specialists have that can pass on to you to put into practice is just amazing. I mean, I rang around, I think it was 9 speech and language therapists private to see my son before I came across you guys, and they couldn't even take me on. We were happily to pay for the services. Their caseloads are so full. So even if you can pay for services, there's just everyone's caseloads are so high right now, and they just can't even offer out the help.
Exactly.
So it's a worry, really.
It is, yeah,
for families, who are going through this, because just being able to have someone hold your hand and guide you with your child is so important, I think. And to try and get in there at those, this early intervention, early preschool, during preschool, before they have to go to school, where their brains can sort of take in so much information, you can tap in and really, really bring them on.
I think, it's invaluable, like you suggested there, Guy, that early years, by the time you get support from the NHS, those early years have passed, and it's too late. So
it's harder to tap in and really, really help
make
them.
a difference. Yeah.
So,
Are you comfortable to share something about what the issues were with Jesse that you wanted help with?
Basically, with Jesse, we realised there was something wrong when he wasn't hitting those milestones to start talking, and then he suddenly lost all eye contact, went very insular. This was during the COVID times. This became apparent to us, so we wasn't sure if that was something to do with the impact on his behaviour or whether there was something more to it. So we started to investigate this ourselves, because it was very hard to even get in with an NHS service. So we paid for a private paediatrician report initially, and then that led us to believe that she couldn't let us leave without a worry or concern.
She raised that there was concerns. Obviously, it was too early to give a diagnosis.
Jesse just it was just before he was 2. I was realising there was something not quite right.
We realised at about 18 months, but it was just before 2 that we went to the
just after 2.
Yeah, just after 2 we went to the private paediatrician, and then from then it snowballed from there. We like Cheryl said, he was pretty much non-verbal. We just noticed that he started to get shy. He started to get insular. He would ignore other people in the room. He was great with Cheryl, but actually, like, very few other people would get kind of Jesse's grace. But then we went on to a university program from the paediatrician. They recommended a university program with the University of Reading, which was fab. And then we also then had private speech and language therapy, which did definitely start the ball rolling, because we started so early.
Yeah.
And we were gradually making inroads. And I think your guys coming in just like rode the wave, just carried on the momentum, and we've seen like monumental improvements since.
So tell us a bit about that, about what happened when they came, and what was the experience of working with them?
So basically, we had the online assessments at first to watch Jesse and how we sort of just had to sort of interact as normal at home. Jesse. We had to interact at home and watch us sort of playing with him. And then we finally got to meet everybody at our house, which was really nice. They all came together, and we all met as a family. And then from then on, we had the one-to-one sessions with the occupational therapist and and every time they came, they're so welcoming to Jesse, and he would look forward to seeing them. He knew they would come, he'd answer the door to them, and they just have a way with children, I think, as well. And the fun that we had on those sessions, Jesse has really enjoyed them. I've really enjoyed them, because they just know how to, and teach me as well. And, Chris, like how you can move the play on. And I find it really fascinating, because the therapy is all play-based therapy, where you kind of think you're taking on something like this, it'd be kind of, more structured.
I think it's that there's possibly a misconception around what therapy means.
Yeah.
Because it almost sounds medical. Like the word therapy, you think, oh God, this is going to be daunting. You feel like it's going to be a science experiment almost with the word therapy. And then they arrive and it was so relaxed.
Yeah.
So much fun. You're almost like, it almost doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Because you're having so much fun and Jesse's having so much fun.
You're expecting it to be hard work.
Yeah. Like you're expecting it to be really hard work. And it like, granted, it's intense and there's lots to learn and there's lots going on.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at the sessions in isolation, it's super fun. You have a great time. You learn new skills. Jesse was like coming on and really enjoying it. I think that was the thing. We worried with like therapy, you go, actually, like, is this going to bring him on, but but he's not going to enjoy it. But it was completely the opposite. It did both. It brought him on, and he was looking forward to it. It's like, when's Mary coming? When's Susanna coming? Like, he was really looking forward to the sessions. So I think,
But that's what I feel like we've learned from this, is like, you know, it is a play-based therapy, and I'm astounded at how much he's come on from the program, because it is really fun. And actually, when you're doing the sessions, it's very authentic. You just kind of follow Jesse's lead a lot of the time, and then afterwards I'd have a chat generally with the therapist later, and then that week I'd then practice the things that we've learned in that session, and then we'd move on again the week later. But actually, it's just amazing. The main thing for Jesse was that we found initially that he didn't have a lot of core strength, did he?
And he wasn't particularly coordinated.
Yeah.
And as his coordination and strength has built up, his confidence has grown.
His speech has come, has flourished from it as well, which I just find fascinating.
It almost feels like, I don't know if you feel like it's almost like too good to be true. You're doing it thinking, is this going to make a difference? You know, like we're just playing on the floor with the same toys that you play with normally, just in a slightly different way,
yeah.
And letting him lead. And suddenly it's almost like inadvertently all these other things happen, you know, like he starts speaking a bit more. You think, is that, you know, hasn't that happened as a result? And it's like, we can only put it down to one thing, because the difference is that he's been having these sessions.
We've definitely changed the way we play with him.
Completely,
And from that, his words are just coming thick and fast, and his language, and his just the way he is interacting. So yeah, it's really enjoyable, and it's and I feel like we've connected more with him as well, from the type of play that we've changed to do with him. Because Jesse he's very high functioning, so his play before was very much like he'd like to do puzzles, and because we think, oh, he's really academic, and we probably go down that route with him a bit more. But since we've changed it into more like floor-based play, and a sort of a different type of play on the floor, it's just really come on. So yeah, we've been really thrilled, and the ideas we've been given to work on as well have been great. So you know, that's what I think people struggle with. It's like, it can be a bit repetitive, you know, when you're just with your child, and for any parent with their children, the, you know, role playing and things, you know, it can be a bit repetitive. So having some extra ideas to throw in and be like, right, this week I'm going to work on that. It gave me a goal and a bit of structure, to like be like, well, we can sit and do that today.
Exciting.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. And then I just feel like I've just, you know, researched it even more, this floor-based play, and we've just really enjoyed learning about it for him. And I feel like it's something that's achievable, because it is just playing, so you can have a really good time with it with your children.
It's something you do anyway, so why not make it more efficient and make sure it's contributing towards their progress.
So you've just come to the end of the initial 6-week First Steps program. So you're really right at the beginning of the support that you're going to be getting from us. But at this point, can you just give us some idea about what are the biggest changes in your lives and the biggest changes for Jesse at this time?
Yeah, I think a big thing for us was his confidence and the ability to communicate, not on a level that was kind of statement based. Previously, one of our goals was we want him to work towards becoming more conversational, because he had words in the locker that he could use to kind of meet his needs, but that's all he really did. It was like drink, like, you know, if he was thirsty he could demand a drink, but now he's so much more conversational. So for us, it's like the development is he's starting to become his own little character, rather than just, you know, almost like a metronome who just demands what he wants and when he wants it. So, you know, he asks you questions now, he engages, he speaks to other people when they come in.
He wants to play with other children more so as well.
He brings other people in on his conversation, which just didn't happen before. So I'd say for us, the biggest change, like from a life perspective, is he's just becoming his own little character, and he's hilarious. He's so funny and great fun. So we're just seeing him, really start to build his own character and flourish. So I think for us, that's huge. And connecting with his sister as well. So his sister is 3.5 years older, and we used to struggle sometimes with how we can get them to bond and be together. So the type of play that we're now doing with Jessie, we can really bring her in on it as well. And
the games that we're doing at home. So that's been brilliant. And I do feel like both of them are getting a lot better. She's feeling more involved. So that's been really interesting as well to see. And they're spending more time together, because as a parent, you just want your siblings to get on and be friends. And I think that's really, really positive, don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
With their behaviour, so that's good.
And that's a huge contrast from what you were saying at the beginning about how he was withdrawing, he was not giving eye contact, he was not relating to you in any meaningful way. And it sounds like that's completely changed now.
Definitely, it's definitely changing. Yeah, it's like always work in progress, as you know, Guy. But it's definitely, he's starting to develop this little, his own little personality and character, which before he didn't really have much of that. We were using speech and language therapy to bring his language on, but actually it wasn't, it was working absolutely. Like, we needed to do those steps, but it actually wasn't bringing kind of his personality through. He just had words which were tools to use when he needed something. But now we're starting to see his character. And
I would say as well, he's very reliant on his iPad. He loves his visual iPad. So getting him off that has been great, hasn't it?
Yeah,
to be able to actually play and not rely on that for his entertainment has been really, really good as well. So I'd say that's been a positive.
Yeah, for sure.
To do that. Do you want to say hello? Goodbye. Yes.
Hey, Jess. Good to see you.
Don't click your nose.